I was invited to Mulberry Gap for the 2017 Maxxis Tires Summit, which is basically an excuse to ride that brand's latest mountain bike tires, hang out, drink beer, and hit epic trails. The Pinhoti trails were amazing, but it was the atmosphere and service provided by Kate and Andrew Gates that made the experience so special. They, along with their families, purchased the remote mountain getaway in the Chattahoochee National Forest in Ellijay, Georgia, and riders from all over quickly made it one of the top weekend destinations in the Southeast. And the Gates made the most of it, opening their arms to mountain bikers, adding events, and ensuring everyone's stay is awesome. Hospitality ain't easy, but they found a way to do it right and grow year after year.
Welcome to The Build Cycle, the podcast by Tyler Benedict that explores the startup stories and growth tactics of hundreds of entrepreneurs, plus his own tips and tricks learned over 2 decades of launching, running, and growing businesses, including BikeRumor.com, the world's largest and most popular cycling tech blog. If you're thinking of starting your own business, The Build Cycle will give you the tools and inspiration to do it right. Now, let's dive into this episode of The Build Cycle.
So Kate and Andrew, you guys own Mulberry Gap, which is a sort of a retreat in Ellijay, Georgia. Mm-hmm. What's the forest that we're in?
Chattahoochee National Forest.
Okay. And it's become kind of a pretty big destination for mountain bikers. And it doesn't sound like that's the original plan, but can you guys give us a quick backstory how you came to own the property?
Sure. Cool. So me and my wife were high school sweethearts. And at the time, our parents were wanting to get like a tiny vacation cabin up here in Georgia, originally from Florida, and stumbled upon what's now Mulberry Gap, and it's come a long way. It was not intended to be kind of what it is. It was just a private retreat for a family, and we bought it in 06. Is that right?
Yep.
It was 06, yeah. So we bought in 06, market crashed, had to figure out a way to pay for it. So we opened up pretty much to anyone who just enjoyed the outdoors, and mountain bikers just kept coming and kind of took us under their wing and kind of made the place what it is today.
Yeah, we really had no idea what we were doing, and we were not mountain bikers. We knew that there were trails here, but we didn't understand the potential and what the possibilities could be. And so, yeah, I mean, it was honestly because there was just 4 people between Andrew and I and our 2 moms that were willing to just hear what anybody suggested and listen to what they wanted, their thoughts, and if we could make the changes, then we would do it, and we would offer that service. We would, run shuttles, get beer here, anything like that. So I think we were very approachable always. It's one thing we've always just tried to make great relationships with the people that come through these doors. And, I think just doing that, everybody kind of felt like home here. It's like going to your grandma's house or visiting some old friends or family. And so they kept wanting to come back, and they were great to support us early on and try to get the word out there. And then, yeah, it's 10 years later, and it's evolved into something completely, nothing that we ever expected. But it's been a really fun ride to kind of experience it, and we still have our struggles. But, for the most part, life is much easier now than it was in the early years when we were definitely had some hardships. So,
right. So when you guys first bought the property, was it meant to be just your own family retreat, or was it always going to be like, hey, let's make a little commercial retreat?
No, I mean, really, like I said, at the time, we just wanted a place. We were still pretty young, 18, 19, and we, at the time, were into four-wheeling and stuff, and just looking for a place to escape Florida just on weekends and stuff. So it was totally unintentional that we bought something this big. So we jumped in head first for sure, and just made it a go. And at the time, neither one of us mountain biked. It took us 2 years before I got a bike, so it was kind of this awesome mistake.
Right. How big is the property?
We have 15 acres on site, which we have the main 10 that's here that you kind of see, and then the trail is mostly on the other 5 that's undeveloped.
And by trail, he means the small, like less than a mile track that we have on site. It's a common misconception that we own the trails that are within the forest and that we, operate them in that sense. But we just happened to pick land that was in a really great spot, close proximity to trailheads, and we've worked with the Forest Service to get shuttles so that we can drive you up as well if you need to. But you can definitely pedal out of here as well. But the trail actually on site's pretty small, all things considered.
Right. So when you bought the property, there were already some cabins on it. What had it been used before for like a commercial retreat, or?
No, it was just a private family that they wanted a place they could come visit, have family reunions, stuff like that. And he was big into taking mule teams and wagons up to gravel roads. So the barn used to be a mule barn. We've since added the bigger cabin that's down below. So we've upgraded all the buildings to kind of fit the need along the way. But
yeah, and as I was saying before, like the old camp kitchen and dining hall space, which are now cabins, we got to a point where you couldn't sit people in there anymore. People were standing to eat, and that's when we knew, like, okay, it's time to upgrade. And so that's when we converted the barn, and that was what, 4 winters ago,
maybe 4 now,
back in 2013. So it was just as the popularity grew, and every weekend got a little bit busier, and we just saw, okay, like I think this is happening. We just every year we try to make it better, make it cooler, give you another reason to come back. And so it's always the same, but it's always different. Just there's always changes happening. Like this happened this winter. We kind of took over part of the house and opened up the retail space because all of it was out there in that smaller section of an office, which used to be a screened-in porch. But it's, you get 15 people in there at one time, and it's just insane. So we were just like, okay, so slowly we're just going to take over everything here, and, we'll just keep making it cool. We're going to have bike rentals soon with the local bike shop and dirt jumpers for the new trail. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to the store and the growth of the facility itself, but when you guys first bought it and you kind of lucked into the location as far as having some of the really killer trails in Georgia, literally outside your gate. When mountain bikers came up to ride and they first started coming in, was it a little weird, people coming in and asking, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, can we camp here?
No, we got involved with, it was mostly Atlanta-based people who were used to coming up here, and they just happened to keep going by and saw this new business pop up out of nowhere. So over the years they would pop in, and then they would come stay. They'd tell their friends, and it just snowballed from there.
So from day one, you guys would let people camp here if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, we knew when we committed to the property that it was going to have to generate revenue in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And yeah, I mean, we were just happy to have anybody come through the door. And at first, you'd have a mixture of hunters and hikers, but bikers just seemed to appreciate the services the most, and they were awesome. I mean, for the most part, we have a great clientele that are easy to please, at least in the services that we already offer. They're not extremely needy. They appreciate you, and they're totally happy to just be here and support small businesses and that type of thing. So it's we've really just enjoyed the clientele. Couldn't ask for a better group to work with throughout the year.
Cool. So when they come up to ride and they camp with you guys, when did you start offering shuttle service? Because a lot of the trails are pretty far away, and to ride to them and then ride the trail, you're talking about a 4 or 5 hour day versus shuttling and just getting the good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of since day one, we used to just people would come up and we'd hop in the car with them and drop them off, and then with that growth, we talked to the Forest Service and went through a pretty long permitting period to do it right. But I think I think that was officially 5 years ago that we approached Forest Service about it, and then got all the legal stuff squared away. But we've been doing it for quite some time. We realized pretty early on that the shuttle was definitely a need, and we get a lot of Florida clientele as well, and they certainly appreciate it. It's pretty hard to train for the elevation up here if you don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, you see riders of all different levels that come through here, and it's like the trails can be beginner friendly, especially if you take a shuttle. We don't recommend climbing the almost 5 miles up to Bear Creek if you are new, but if they take their time going down those trails and stuff, you can do it. But then if you're advanced and you know how to read a trail, and you can get plenty of air and just fly down that thing too. So I mean, it's just, it helps. The shuttles just kind of help open it up to different groups, and but then also if you just want to ride until your heart's content, you can just shuttle all day and just wear yourself out. So
right. How did you know you needed to work with the Forest Service to do shuttling?
So I mean, anytime if you are making money off of their land, you have to have a permit.
Okay.
So we have to send in use reports all the time, and we pay them fees based on the amount of people that we take up, and we have to mention where we're going, and so they have a record of trail use and how popular certain areas are, which ones are going to need more maintenance, and that also helps our local chapter know where to designate money to get machine work in here or do a work party with volunteers and that sort of thing.
We say chapter like Sorba?
Yeah, our local IMBA Sorba chapter. It's currently in between a name change, but it's LHA Mountain Bike Association. And it's going to switch to something else soon. So,
are they primarily the ones that come in to build the trails?
Well, so all the trails were built before us, and I don't. The guy who built the trails, the Pinhoti.
Oh, I forget his name.
Yeah, but no, I mean they're actually working on building more trails now, but they had nothing to do with all of this. It was the guy who, so the Pinhoti trail system is 340 miles long?
In total, yeah, which goes into Alabama. We have a little over 140 in Georgia that's mountain bike accessible. The trails in Alabama are hiking only. So, but the Pinhoti's a pretty big trail system.
But yeah, the guy who put that whole system together had trail builders in different sections, and so it had nothing to do with this local club. But they are in the works right now of getting a new trail here. Working on that, so
that's gonna be great for you guys.
Yeah.
So with the early years, like the first year or two, about how many people would come and stay with you guys on a given weekend during season? What is the season, like the real mountain bike season for you guys?
Spring and fall definitely are busier consistently, but every year it's almost like there's not a season. It's just this kind of like straight through. Like even last year, the summertime was pretty darn busy. And I mean, an average weekend now is 35 to 45 a night on weekends. Weekdays are definitely quieter, but in the earlier days, I mean, gosh, if we got 15 people here, we were happy, but it used to be, I mean, there was no reservation system. People would not call, they would just show up. And so Jenny would cook for an unknown amount of people all the time, and so you'd run into like, well, there's no more food left, because we didn't know that this extra group of 10 were coming, and it was pretty loose in the beginning, and just as we've grown, we've had to just add more structure naturally. But
right. So how do you do reservations now? Is it an online system?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We about 2 years ago we made it all automated, which has been great. We've just when you can do all the events and all that stuff online, so it's easier and more efficient that way for sure.
So what happens if people show up now, like maybe on a not so busy weekend, and you have room? Do you still let them in? Just say, hey, I might not have food, or
yeah. It's rare though. I mean, it's every now and then you'll get drop-ins. We don't encourage drop-ins just because a lot of times it does add stress, and more like there's just not space. Like you really do have to plan ahead. But yeah, weekdays are quieter, and then certain weekends you'll just have like a pretty dead weekend. But it's you never know when that's going to be.
Right. What else is offered here? Like, what else can people do in the area besides mountain biking, and how do you cater to that if you do?
Yeah, I mean, there's really quite a bit. This area is kind of a nice kept secret. It's kind of an outdoor mecca that hasn't blown up yet, really. But there's an awesome river in town, the Cartacay. It's got some Class 3 rapids, so nothing crazy. So you can go tube it, rent a kayak. There's zip lining up in Blue Ridge, which is about a 30-minute drive. Tons of apple orchards. So this county's the apple capital of Georgia, as well as the mountain bike capital of Georgia. So they have all kinds of the family kind of stuff like that. Pick your own apples, and hiking trails. We're right outside of the Cohutta Wilderness, which we got up on that ridge earlier in the weekend. And there's just a plethora of hiking trails up there. You can do tons of overnighters, and it's beautiful in there. Tons of waterfalls, lots of creeks.
Cool. So as things started to grow and the shuttle service grew, it sounded like maybe you went from driving the customer's car, dropping them off, and bringing the car back for them. Is that what you were doing first?
No, so that's currently what we still have to do, and that's because of state laws. It's just unaffordable for us to buy a van and then pay the fee every year. We wouldn't be able to charge the customers the amount that we'd have to. So right now,
it's if the way that we'd have to be set up is almost like a taxi driver, and there's all these different regulations around it, and if we run 25 shuttles a month, that's busy, and we just it would never pay for itself type of thing. So we still work it that way. It might change in the future if other options become available, but from what we've found so far, that's kind of the way that we do it. So.
And you've got a truck with this trailer there to pull the bikes up. So is it require 2 people per shuttle run then? What do you mean by 2?
So do you take people up in your truck then on the bikes, or
sometimes we don't like to do it. We'll do it for certain events like this weekend at the Maxis Summit, but we don't encourage that just because of all the regulations involved,
right.
And gets a little tricky.
Yeah. So how did you find out about those kind of regulations? Was it just trial and error, or did you look into? My thought would have just been, we'll just buy a van.
Yeah.
Right, and we've turned a lot of things around over the years that we went into it just not knowing we had to do certain things. So we've tried to make it more and more, what you would say,
on the level.
Yeah, we're trying to do everything right.
Yeah,
we've played a lot of catch up and made some mistakes over the years, so we're just trying to get everything squared away the way it's supposed to be.
We had no idea what it would turn into, and it's like when someone is here for the weekend and they just want to ride their bike and they're just like, but they can't make it up that hill, or they don't want to spend 2 hours climbing 13 miles to the top of Mountain Town or wherever, they want to lift. And so it was like, at first we were like, well, sure, we'll just take you, no big deal. But then it got so popular, it was like, okay, no one on the property as staff is available because we're all on shuttles. And so it was like, okay, well, now we've got to either bring on more people, but then that's going to cost money. So, you got to start covering those types of things. And so yeah, just again, like everything, it just evolved, and it's been a learning process from beginning to end. And a lot of times, once you work with the Forest Service or you work with your insurance or whoever, they start putting regulations on it too. And so, they've all got their things that you have to meet in order to be approved and all that kind of stuff. So
right.
That's kind of been the course that we've run into. So in time, it might change. It might become easier for us to just get a van and do it, but then it would turn into we'd have to have a shuttle schedule. Everybody would have to be ready at the same time. We'd have to drop in patterns that we can get everybody to their location, and a lot of times that doesn't work for people. I think they appreciate the flexibility of whenever they're ready, just come up and we'll hop in the car and we'll take you up and we'll go wherever you want to go.
All right. The growing pains.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah. So along with growth, the shuttle growth is what it is at the moment. Mm-hmm. But then you've expanded. So was this building that we're in now, this was a house first?
It still is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So behind those doors, there's 2 bedrooms. and a bathroom. And then this used to be an open loft above us here. We enclosed that last winter as an employee living space. So it's kind of like a little studio apartment. So that's where Megan lives. And this space was just, at first we used to have a dining room table in here, sofas. This is where we all hung out in the earlier years. And then it slowly became more like the dumping grounds for storage because we're just so limited on storage space here. And we probably need to build another building for that soon. But yeah, then it was a shame because it's such a big room that had so much potential, and then we started running into the issues of it just being so crowded in there and people always talking over each other when you're trying to go over directions or maps or plans for your day. And so we just decided to open it up, and we're hoping we have a meeting with the county next week or this coming week, but we're hoping to turn this kitchen into like a full-time lunch cafe coffee bar type place. And so we would just keep doing breakfast and dinner over there. But to give Jenny a break in the middle of the day, we would just have, one of us over here available to make sandwiches and salads or just whatever. So nothing's 100% yet, but that's our hope with it. So
to expand into something like that, because it is a kitchen now, but it's not really a commercial kitchen.
Right.
Is that a huge expense to convert this into, like, from a kitchen I'd have at my house to a kitchen that's able to serve, hot food?
Yeah, so we function under we're not considered commercial because we're not open to the public. So you have to be a member to stay here. So everybody that signs a waiver becomes a member. But we are not held to commercial regulations. There's still certain things that we have to meet with, of course. But as far as like having a lot of those,
like food service law,
right?
stuff.
Yeah, it's just different. So we're under like bed and breakfast / private club regulations, which is a little bit different. But yes, there's still parts that it is very expensive, and we're kind of in that thing right now where it's like there's some changes that we need to make. We're going to cost a lot of money, and how do you? It's like, okay, so we need to ramp up business more and get busier consistently to help afford all of that, So, again, just it's constant growing pains, and you tackle one thing and then something else comes up. So yeah, that's why we're bringing the county in here next week, is just to hear what we would have to do and if it's worth it, or if we just kind of hold off for a year and save a little bit and then do it then. So
yeah, what are without going into exact numbers and stuff, but like, how do you come to those decisions? Does your business, you're like, all right, if we grow X, then we'll do this, and I'm sure you've got a priority list.
Oh yeah, there's always a revolving priority list, and Andrew stays pretty busy. Luckily, we have him, and he's a skilled carpenter and all that. So if we had to hire out all the stuff that he's done, I don't know that we would have ever survived, honestly. It's just
not a chance.
No, yeah, he has saved us a lot of money. It's very necessary. But yeah, we sit down, as a family, and just a couple times a year, and just kind of look at it all and try to get on the same page. Sometimes it's easier said than done, just as far as what we need to work on and focus on. So we just kind of, and because we never know like how busy it's going to get, and then if it gets busier, then other things become priorities. So we kind of assess it all and then go from there, just decide what's going to happen next. And sometimes it happens quickly, and sometimes it takes you 2 years to get to that point. So
right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a bike rental fleet here. What's the timeline for that?
As soon as you guys leave, the bike should be here any day now. Yeah, and I wish that we would have had those dirt jumpers available this weekend, since I know those wheels never showed up. So, right? I don't think they did.
No, not as far as I know.
Okay. So where are you going to put those?
Well, we'll probably have one of each, the mountain bike trail or the mountain bike, and then the dirt jumper on display in here. But Car Decay Bike Shop has a little trailer that they're just going to leave here that we can, store the bikes in and lock them up. And then they'll also, I think we're working on maybe having one of them out here a few hours on the weekends, just in case of any people damage their bikes. That happens a lot. And
Right.
the bike shop's only 12 miles away, but a lot of times it happens in the evening, or at the end of their day. And, so sometimes they just need a quick fix or something like that. So that's becoming a constant need. And people are always asking to borrow Andrew's tools and have him fix this or that. And a lot of those tools we never get back. So it'll be nice to have like an official setup where people could put their bike on a stand and use a tool that's attached to something that'll keep
Right.
it there. But
So is the rental program going to be run by Cardiac Bike Shop?
Yep,
or-
they're basically just going to have like a little satellite office out here.
Perfect.
Yeah, yep. So
Did you guys look at running that yourselves, or did it
no, I mean we've
always-
always wanted to work with the bike shop. We never, from the early days, we didn't ever want to compete with them. We didn't want to be seen as a threat, or that we were going to all the stuff that we have there we buy through them and we sell at their prices. We don't jack it up, and so it's definitely a working relationship where they're small. This is a destination town. There's not a lot of locals that ride, so their money comes in from people that travel here as well. It's not like they have a lot of small town LJ folks that are coming in, getting repairs and stuff. So
Right. So will they have to keep someone here during the day, like on the weekends especially?
yeah, I think that's the goal. I'm not sure who they're going to have out here yet and for how many hours, because it's one of those things, like there might be a need for 45 minutes out of the day, but then they might just be sitting here piddling around too. So we're still working through that to see how it's going to work. And but this month is already filling up quick, so I know we're going to get into it here pretty soon.
Right.
So
And then for the shop that we're saying, you guys have a lot of Mulberry Gap branded merchandise, along with a few bike parts and gloves, things that break or need replacing or get forgotten at home. But as far as the merchandise goes, I'm curious, like, how did you guys decide, okay, we need like this many t-shirts, sweatshirts, men's versions, women's versions, other things with your logo on it? It's because it's a lot of inventory to sit on.
It is, yeah. Just need, again, I do a lot of the marketing and graphic stuff for the business, and have a great friend that does most of our t-shirt printing and stuff like that. So jerseys, gosh, we just got jerseys last fall, and that's been like so needed for a while, and people love it, but then now they want the fitted ones, and now we've got fitted ones coming. And I don't know, we kind of try different things, and certain ones are really popular and others sit here for a while, and then we know not to do it again.
Right.
So it's just a learning process, and part of expanding into this space, that it gave us the option to carry more stuff. Believe it or not, though, all of this was in that tiny room before it moved in here. But yeah, people sometimes rip their baggies when they're here, or they forgot them, and so we've had requests for carrying stuff like that, which we're still looking into, just to have more mountain bike related stuff. But yeah, to sit on the inventory is hard. We were just closed for 2 months, so obviously nothing was rolling out the door. And but yeah, once the season begins, usually people are pretty stoked about having socks or just whatever. They like variety. We try to do all different price points too, because sometimes you just want to walk out with a koozie, or a sticker, and other times we've had people drop like $400 on merchandise, and it's like, wow, you really love us,
Nice. So like the t-shirts and the koozies and stuff, was it just people coming in and saying, hey, do you guys have a t-shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, and for the most part, we just see how many people ask for stuff like that, and then for years, people were like, get shot glasses. I finally got shot glasses, and I think we've sold like 2. And so I just give them, at certain events, I just give them out now just to get rid of them, because we've just had them for too long. And so I'll probably never do shot glasses again, but yeah.
For the other revenue sources for you guys, so you've got a store with merchandise, you've got the shuttle service, which presumably you charge like per shuttle run.
Mm-hmm.
And
just
then,
per car, yep.
Of course, the cabins and the camping spots and stuff. What else do you guys do to generate revenue here?
Beer.
Beer's nice.
But yeah, we do guided services. We were offering multi-day tours for the last 2 years, but just wasn't happening. So we stopped that.
Like bike tours?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're still open to it if someone called and wanted like a custom thing. I mean, we're permitted to do it. We'd be happy to talk about it and get something going. But the single day, like just wanting a guide for a few hours has just kind of been a demand recently. And it's just kind of growing on its own. So, we might do a couple of those a month in different locations and stuff. So it just depends. But no, I mean, the bread and butter is meals and lodging. That's most of it.
Do most of the people stay here, get the meal service?
95%, and if they don't the
they
first
will.
time,
Once they see it?
they see it and they hear about it, or their friends rag on them enough, then they're like, okay, yeah, sign me up for dinner.
Yeah.
So
No, it's phenomenal. The food
Yeah.
you guys have had for us the last couple of days is so good.
yeah, Jenny knows what she's doing. She takes pride in making everyone fat and happy.
Right.
So.
So how big is your staff, and do they all live on site?
Currently, our staff is only the family, the four of us, and Megan. Officially, we do have friends or people that we've met through the business that have become great friends of ours that live within like an hour radius. That when we have busy weekends like this, we just call them and ask for help. And we are in the process of kind of hiring some help part-time. Yeah, but I mean, so Megan came from Florida. So yeah, I mean, when she needed a place to stay, because there's no long-term rentals in Ellijay because everybody does vacation homes here. So it's really hard to do that unless you're a local and you have a place. But as I said before, there's not really a local bike scene here. And so people aren't into this, and we've had a lot of people come out and quit within a day because they have to walk up hills and it's too hard and there's spiders and I mean, it's like, really? You live in Georgia, you're in the woods, it's beautiful out here, but yeah, it takes a special person to want to be out here, or they think that all you're going to do is ride bikes when you work at Mulberry. That doesn't happen.
And it is pretty remote.
Yeah.
I invite anybody listening to look it up on the map, and I'll drop a pin and make a screenshot for the post to go along with this interview. But there's virtually no cell service.
Yeah.
Internet's extremely limited and slow when you can get it, if you can get it. But that's, I guess, part of the appeal too, is you just get away from it all. Yeah,
people love to come out here and unplug, and I know for this event in particular, Maxis was really stressed about the internet, but they were saying how, because last year it was, I guess, people were, I guess it was just a different group. More people wanted to get stuff out immediately, whereas this group seems like totally happy. They're like, no, man, it's cool. I don't want to check my emails right now, and so you see it all. You do get people that are a little bummed, but yeah, again, the vast majority of people who come here are just happy to unplug and just be in the woods and be on their bike and enjoying the views and the scenery, and that email will still be there 2 or 3 days from now.
Yeah. So essentially this is the hospitality business. What are some of the biggest surprises you guys have found over the years running a hospitality business?
We're lucky.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky to have mountain bikers as a clientele.
Right.
We hear horror stories.
We wouldn't be able to deal with any other group, I think, because even with the mountain bikers, as relaxed and chill as they are, it's a lot because we're so limited on staff. People need this, and it can be very time consuming. But they're always happy. You feed them well, they hit the trails all day, they're in a good mood. So it's what makes the place easy.
Yeah, I mean, we get our occasional jerk, everybody does, but yeah, for the most part, we have really happy people. And if it were a different scenario, and we couldn't wake up and do it. This place takes a lot of heart and soul and a lot of consistent work. And if we didn't appreciate and enjoy the people that we served every day, we wouldn't keep doing it.
When you say a lot of consistent work, is it just like building up key maintenance, or like what's the daily work cycle for you guys?
Well, and that's one thing we're trying to balance out a little bit more, is like the work play. We don't have enough fun yet. It's getting a lot better. It's improved a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, just with our ability to hire help. I mean, we didn't hire our first full-time person until September of 2015. So
7 years in, 8 years in?
8 years.
Wow.
Well, yeah. So it was, it took a lot. And I mean, you're working 12, 14-hour days. He's up at 7:15 with Jenny.
Yeah,
She's up earlier.
You're always the first person up, last person to bed, especially with breakfast and dinner, and then a full day. Once you're done with breakfast, you don't stop until you're done with the dishes at night.
Yeah,
So
because somebody always needs something, right? I mean, if you've got 45 people here, and most are here in groups of like 2 or 3, everyone's on their own itinerary. And so you never know when someone's going to need something or lock themselves out of the cabin or,
Which we did.
Yeah, it happens. So, but it's getting better. We kind of like implemented shifts like a normal business would, and so everybody can know I'm going to have a 3-hour block and I can take off and ride my bike or just go take a nap or whatever it is. So it's getting better, but the days are busy. They're long. There's always something to work on, and that's part of the problem too. Is when you live where you work, you never leave work,
right?
And you never, it's always right here on your shoulder, just poking you. So
you mentioned you guys were closed for 2 weeks when we were talking about the merchant, or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Was that like you just closed for this winter season, or?
Yeah, so last year we decided winter's usually slow, and every year we were having problems with just lots of repair work for him because of busted pipes, just trying to keep everything running. It's also really expensive to keep everything warm and heated and ready just in case someone books, So, and then we just need a break, when you're running pretty much 7 days. I mean, so currently we're technically closed to reservations Monday nights and Tuesday nights, so we get a break from people for those 2 days, but you're still here answering phones, fixing stuff on the property that you can't do when there's people here. So it's still 365, 10 months out of the year, 24/7, 10 months out of the year. And so we just decided to give ourselves a break to just unwind, go visit our families in Florida, go take our own mountain bike trips and vacations during January and February. And that's been a much needed and appreciated thing, because now we're ready. We're ready for the season. We're anxious we're anxious to have people back, and whereas towards the end of the season you're kind of like, go home. We love you, but go home. So and it's, we don't ever want people to feel that. We want them to come here, and we don't need to be stressed and grumpy and all that. So when you have to interact with people all day long, so it can be draining, but again, if we didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't keep doing it. So
cool. What's the maximum capacity for the place?
It's about,
I would say 45 is where we don't really want to get it any more than that. And really, it's a lot more fun when there's 30 here. So when you get 45 on site, it kind of changes the feel of the place. I like to keep it small and intimate, but other weekends, there's 45 people here, and there's mini bike Jenga going in the barn at night, and sometimes it's a total blast. But you get different crowds that come through, and
different energy levels too. Yeah, sometimes everybody becomes best friends and swapping phone numbers and meeting back up here a few weeks later because they had such a great time. And then other times you have people that it's they don't know how to interact with strangers or something, and but it's the atmosphere and energy is usually really good. I mean, you're in a room full of people who are doing what you love to do too. So finding common ground and a topic to talk about is usually not hard. So people hit it off, and we have the communal dining experience. So you're kind of forced to sit with people you don't know and get outside of your comfort zone, unless you're here with a big group, and we get that too. Bachelor parties or just whatever, a group of friends that take their annual trip here, and they'll kind of stick together. But
She
got it.
Cool. So what does the future hold for Mulberry Gap?
It's hard to say. Part of what made this place was the fact that we were super flexible and could change things and make it make it whatever the clientele needed. So I don't know. We're staying open-minded, and we'll just see how it goes. But
like Brett and TJ of Cahada Trail Designs came up to us like 2 months ago, and they were like, "Hey, how do you feel about a pump track in your front yard?" And we were like, "Cool," So like that just happened. It was not planned for, and people are super pumped about it. I mean, like the energy of people wanting to just come up here, or the interest of people wanting to get up here and ride it has been huge. So, there's that, and we've got a couple things potentially in the works. But we're not ready to put that out there yet. But yeah, we're always trying to change, but again, just improve upon what we already are, and keep you coming back for different reasons. But that, the whole experience stays kind of the same, just more awesome.
Do you want to expand capacity, like be able to take in more people, or is that?
It's a tricky one. Yes and no. Like, we would love to expand for events like this, because oftentimes, like, these types of full facility rental are becoming a little more common. But it's still requiring, them to rent cabins down the street or something, just because there's not enough space here. But then, like you said, it gets tricky, because when you get too many people, like that barn can only seat so many people for dinner, and then you get into like, well, do you do 2 different dinners? Like it brings up a whole nother set of problems. We've definitely talked about expanding. There's definitely discussion about that pretty often, but no firm plans have been decided yet.
Right.
And then there's regulations with the county as far as how many people you can have, and then you have to have more bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see.
Right. From a geographical standpoint, you guys are pretty remote. So my guess would be like the cost of operations is fairly low compared to somewhere that would be closer to a city. Is it surprisingly expensive to have a place this size?
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I'd say it's actually, especially like the food cost is huge, and we can't get commercial delivery, so everything is bought almost, in busy season every day. She's in town buying fresh food. So I don't know. I think I think it's pretty similar.
Well, and because we bought at the height of the market, that kind of, just general overhead's pretty high to keep this place going, and so yeah, no, it's pretty expensive. It's something and that's the other thing too. It's just, money's always one of those things you got to look at pretty closely, and that's going forward with expanding. It's just, you have to look at all the numbers and how it's going to work out. So,
did they have, when you guys moved in, did it have phone and internet run out here?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you haven't had to pay, because I don't imagine the city or county would run lines out here out of charity. It seems like if you needed additional city services or something, like it would get crazy expensive.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've tried so many times to just get better internet, mainly just for our own, office needs. I mean, a lot of times Megan and I are just in there, like,
watching the wheels spin.
Yeah, just getting really annoyed because your efficiency is just nothing. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we have to go into town and just sit at the coffee shop, get stuff done. But yeah, we've tried just about everything we can to get faster internet out here, and it's basically come down to, unless we fork out $100,000 to run a line, and it's like, no, we're good, thanks. No. So, it was all pretty much set up. We've had to add, like, we've had to add like a new septic tank and all that kind of stuff, but like, we're going to put another bathroom out by the barns so you don't have to walk down the hill. And we get weddings and stuff out here, and grandma can't go down that hill, so they have to, we need to get something that is level over there. And we have like a lot of day riders come too, so you can come and like park and ride, and they want showers and stuff too. So it can be, a Saturday around here can be pretty slammed, and we're just trying to accommodate all those things and see how it goes. So.
Right. So the nature of the business here being a really outdoorsy event, and especially catering to cyclists, I don't imagine you get a whole lot of handicapped people coming, but how does that work with the laws? Because, I mean, the bathrooms here are definitely not handicap
ADA,
accessible.
yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things, like that bathroom we're putting out there, we're going to make it handicap accessible because, I think we've only ever had one person, and they weren't staying here. They drove up, and the mom came in to talk to me and was asking if there were any ADA accessible trails because her son was handicapped, and I never saw him. I didn't meet him. I don't know what his condition or issues were, but it brought up a good point. And then I actually immediately took that to our chapter and talked to them about it because it was the first time I received that question. And parts of the trails are probably wide enough for it, but then other parts aren't. But then I also have very little knowledge of how those bikes work and what they're capable of. So I think, part of what the club's trying to do with these new trails is they want to bring in more beginner friendly accessible trails, and kind of see how that goes. But I don't think that there'll so much be here on this section of the forest, but it'll be closer to town. But yeah, I mean, we don't get a lot of people with that issue. It's just...
Is it like a legal requirement for a facility like this? Like if you guys do new construction, does it all have to be ADA compliant? Or is there like exclusions?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those gray areas. And like Kate was saying, we are a private club not open to the public.
Okay.
So it's this kind of gray area, but it's in the plans to add a bathroom regardless. It is ADA accessible, but the property in general is really steep, so just for someone to get around
would just be hard.
It's pretty difficult.
Right.
And this was just like how it's laid out. It's just how it was laid out. It's not like we could make it easier. And so unless they had somebody with them that could drive them up and down for meals, and we could easily add in a ramp to a cabin and get them in there. But yeah, I just I don't know of many cyclists that have those kind of issues and needs, so it just hasn't been a problem yet. But and the county's just, we'll see moving forward with all this stuff. So
they've been pretty good to work with, and quite honest, I don't think they thought we would still be here. So they've been pretty lenient with us over the years. Right. But yeah, obviously we've grown a lot, so they're coming on out just to make sure everything's squared away.
Yeah. So you guys bring in, obviously the trails are probably the number one thing bringing people in, but having a facility like this has got to make it easier to bring more people in or convince some more friends to come along with you. Is it something where you guys are getting incentives from anybody for being a tourist draw or helping to improve the local economy?
No, we work pretty closely with the Chamber of Commerce in town, and they've been awesome. They're really getting behind outdoor recreation and, helping us get to some of these events where we set up a booth, headed to Santos Fat Tire Fest next weekend. So stuff like that they're helping us out with, and really trying to grow the area.
Some of that?
Yeah, they have been.
They'll do like the booth fees and stuff, and like travel and food, all that. It's on us, but it can add up, especially for some business as small as us, because some of these events, a booth is $2,000 for a 10x10. Yeah. And it's like, what? But yeah, so we talk about us, but then we also like promote the local bike shop. We promote LJ in general, just because it really is like an outdoor mecca but it's a destination place. Cause like I said, just the locals are not really into it. But yeah, and in recent years, they've definitely been very supportive. And, our county was designated the mountain bike capital of Georgia back in, I think, 2008. Or so, but yeah, they've been good, but yeah, it's been word of mouth. The bike shop's been good to work with, and we just kind of cross.
I was going to ask, is most of the promotion you guys do just word of mouth from people who've been here? Mm-hmm. What else do you do to market the venue?
A little bit of Facebook.
Not much. Events like this are awesome.
Yeah,
but we just. Like you said, overhead has been super high, so we've never been able to do mass marketing and put ads in magazines. It's just been unaffordable for us. So it's it's really been word of mouth.
Well, and you know, back in 2010, Dirt Rag was the first magazine that approached us and said, "Hey, we want to write about you guys," and that really put us on the map and kind of gave us a little bit of reputation. And we still get people that are like, "Yeah, I read that article and just now getting here," you know. But then, yeah, it's like as each year goes on, another magazine will reach out, and another one, and you know, then yeah, you get podcasts, you get all this kind of stuff. So it's definitely increased a lot in these years. And so I think, you know, it'll just keep kind of going off that momentum and keep growing, and that'll give us the option to keep growing here too, and making changes that we need to do. So.
Has the growth been pretty linear, or has it gone kind of like little bit, and then just skyrocket?
That's kind of what it's feeling like, yeah. It was definitely a little bit, and I would say in the last 3 years it's amped up, but then even just last year we saw a big change of just, you know, weekends were consistently almost maxed out throughout like certain seasons and stuff. So, but like we started attending events back in 2015, and then we did a lot last year. We're going to do a little less this year, maybe, just because he and I are usually the ones that go, but then it puts a lot of strain on the business here when we're gone. So we're going to have to choose a little more wisely this year on which weekends to take off. But if we've got that extra help, then it's not so bad. So It's all a work in progress.
Cool.
We're just trying not to kill ourselves or each other. It's hard to work with family sometimes, but
yeah. So if you had one or two pieces of advice for somebody that was thinking of doing something similar, what would that be?
Oh man,
that's a hard one.
Be super determined. I mean, it's taken a lot to make this place what it is, and I think sometimes we sit back and we're like, how did we ever do it, really? Yeah,
you guys are seeing like the good side of it. Like, had we had this conversation 4 years ago, I probably would have said, blow it up. Yeah. It's happened. I mean, and it's.
What were the big things? Like, what was the real struggle back then?
I mean, it was always money. I mean, just when the market tanked, it was bad. Just our family's personal finance situation with keeping this place going. And, I mean, it was that we've had plenty of scary times but again, it was like you didn't have the money to market, but then how do you get people here without marketing? Right? So it's like, it's just kind of this vicious circle of you have to spend money to make money. And if you don't have it in the first place, so I don't know, but it's gotten so much better. So, advice is hard. I mean, we have people come here all the time that are like, it's Friday. They just checked in. This place is rad. Like, I want to do this where, I'm from. And then by Sunday, after they've watched us like work forever and they realize that we're at everywhere that they go, we are there working. We're serving them breakfast every morning. We're in the office all day or on the grounds giving them firewood or this or that. And then we're at dinner too. They're kind of like, oh shit.
And you were out late.
Yeah.
Hanging out with people.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah, that's not advisable. But then you try to blow off some steam, but then, luckily we had people covering the kitchen early this morning because I would not have been able to make it at 7:15 in the kitchen to roll out of bed this morning. But yeah, by Sunday when they check out or whenever that is, they're kind of like, you guys are doing great. I'm just going to let you keep doing your thing. I'll stick to my job, because they just realize how much it takes. And, under different circumstances and now that, the sport has grown so much just since we've been around and, a lot more ladies riding, which is great. Like that's been awesome for me to see. And we have a lot of ladies groups come and clinics and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to give like specific advice. I mean, determination is definitely have a plan, but then be open to it changing.
Yeah, I would say be totally open to change. And, the market drove this place. The clientele are really who built it. We just listened to what they wanted. And that's super helpful. I mean, it wouldn't be what it is today had we not listened and kind of adapted and changed and made it into what's now Mulberry Gap.
Mm-hmm. And back to a previous question about like what brings in revenue, failed to mention that events and clinics have been great. Like the interest in mountain bike skills clinics for male specific, female specific, or even co-ed has been pretty big. And then like we've hooked up with the PMBAA for professional mountain bike instruction. They host 2 courses out of here a year. That's been a hit. So yeah, I mean, you got your opportunity to do regular reservations and stuff, but I mean, we usually at least once a month have something going on that you can, improve your skills or join a ladies group and find a riding partner in your area or that kind of thing. So.
Do you guys run those clinics and events?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're leading the classes?
Oh, well, no, we're not leading them. We usually like Sue Haywood comes out here and leads the women's clinics. And then we've brought on Shanna Powell, and she's been great. So they work really well together, and they'll usually, between the two of them, take anywhere from 18 to 20 girls, and everyone always has a great time. They love it. And
so you guys organize and promote it, and then you bring in Sue or Shanna?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, no, because we can't afford to do those things as far as just time-wise, because we're always needing to shuttle or something like that. So, right. But yeah, we hook it all up. We kind of coordinate everything, plan it, registrations on our website, and kind of bring them in and do all that. But then, sometimes we have other companies that reach out to us, like Ninja Mountain Bike Performance out of San Diego, started doing stuff with us, and, they've kind of got their own set of followers, and, they had an article written about the last clinic in Mountain Bike Action magazine that came out 2 months ago or so, and now they've got like 20 for this clinic coming up in April in like a month. So yeah, it's just kind of, again, taking on a life of its own, and we just sometimes just step back and we're just like, all right, let it do its thing, and help where we can, but don't fight it, just go with the flow.
Just don't get in the way.
Yeah. Right.
Awesome.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot somehow.
Yeah. Cool. Right on. So where can people find you guys online?
mulberrygap.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Just at Mulberry Gap?
Mm-hmm. At Mulberry Gap MTB. Yep, that's our handle. We try to put some fun stuff out there. We don't get annoying. We don't talk politics. We talk bikes.
Right on. Well, thank you guys for a wonderful weekend. It's been a blast being here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you guys.
Awesome. Congrats on the growth.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
If you're considering opening a B&B or destination resort, there are a lot of great little lessons and things to think about tucked into this podcast. One of the secrets to their success was going with the flow and finding a way to cater to the audience that found them. Another important point was how they carved out personal time and days off to stay sane. With any business, when you first start, you're going to be there a lot. But with hospitality businesses, especially family-run operations like Mulberry Gap, you're basically on call 24/7. You live there, literally and figuratively. It's critical that you build in ways to escape now and then. One way is hiring more people. Another is figuring out seasonality and adjusting the schedule accordingly. Whatever it is, it will help you avoid burnout. Other things to consider include licenses and permits, adequate restrooms, handicap accessibility, and more. You'll need to look at your clientele and determine what features they use, what they request, and how you can anticipate needs so that you're not constantly putting out fires. Kate, Andrew, and their crew made our weekend there amazing. The food alone is worth the trip. Check out pics of their place, show notes, and more at thebuildcycle.com. And if you haven't already, could you go to iTunes and hit that subscribe button? Man, that would be awesome, and it'll just take a sec, but it really helps. Thanks, and see you soon.